never seen God's eyes, but I seen the devil's. He walks with man on earth at different levels. He knows the king we serve, so he hates the middles and prays that we all burn and turn to rebels. He tried with my soul, but I'm never settle. I walk the lonely road from the birth to ghettos. I'll take the gift we stole, never turn a vessel. I am the one they chose. Rebellious in all ways, consider sixth birth. He knew that it would happen. What's going on? Once again, we in it. We are in it. And we got another hot topic, one that we need to talk about. And this is one we've touched on before in episode 7 in some ways. Just talking about the supernatural. Aliens, ghosts, but with episode 12, as we are here in episode 12, is cooking and burning. I had to touch on supernatural just in general. I wanted to just, uh, be able to sit with that because I think that there's a lot in that to take in as we move forward in our steps to elevation. So as we throw these things into the fire, as we throw these things into the mix, you know, uh, there's just a lot there. But with that, I just want to say I do not own the rights to the song. That is Dax. And the artist is Dax, and the song is God's Eyes. If you want to put that in your playlist, I usually try to start everything off with, something that I think is, going in the direction of what I'm speaking of. Um, so yeah, with that, we at episode 12, and welcome everybody. It's a privilege for me to be here. It's a privilege for us to be here. It's the breath that we have and the breath that we take is a gift. No matter your circumstance, no matter what you're going through, your breath is a gift and the gift is opportunity. I can get deeper to what I think that opportunity is. Um, well, I will say I believe the opportunity is to connect with God. As you know, I'm a believer, but for your beliefs and for all here and whatever you believe. Like I said, all are welcome. And so that's another day for you to connect and grow. Every day we face challenges in this life, and we have to remember how blessed we are with the opportunity to be more than we were yesterday, right? So, um, if you haven't checked out the other episodes, there's a lot of food in there. If you need to catch up, but most importantly, just thank you for being here today, in this moment, in this space, and in this time, as we move forward on growing as people and humanity and our outlook and all that combines in us, right? Mind, body, soul. You know, that's the purpose here. You know, um, but I wanted to touch on supernatural uh, because I just believe there's so much there that we have to recognize in its proper perspectives because it also dictates on how we tend and take care to ourselves. And when I mean by supernatural, I'm talking about we talked about we got giants, demigods, ghosts, spirits, right? We know aliens, fallen angels. We can say demonic forces. We know that we can say that there is another realm, right? We know of another realm out there, and that's just the thing. If we can kind of come to these conclusions of that, right? How do we actually sit with that and how does it impact our lives? How does it impact our day to day? How does it impact our walk? Before I go too far, though, if you haven't taken the opportunity to like, subscribe, and share, um, man, please do. Please do. We want to grow this army. Share. We want to continue to outreach. We want to continue to bring people here willing to grow. I'm here with you in that fire. I'm not this perfect person. I'm not trying to sit here like I mastered everything. I'm not here to just like, hey, I got all this education and degrees and more power to the people that do, but I'm not here. I'm here as one of those people. I'm here as one of you. I'm not here to preach down to you, but I'm here to continue to grab hands and band together on this spiritual journey and this walk towards growth. So yeah, like, subscribe, and share would be much appreciated. But we know of all these things, and magic, dark and light, witchcraft, sorcery, voodoo, hoodoo. There's many names for these different practices and different things, but they all have the same key element. Some have sacrifices, animal sacrifices, human sacrifices, blood, um, magical artifacts of different sorts, different kinds, gems, you know, stones and different things that harness energies and powers. And we have all these things in our world, right? And we have cults and not just cults, but people and uh, end times, our ancestors. And this is where we connected with, right? This was the beginning of us understanding and us finding the sources that we had around us, um, and how we connected to that spiritual side and that spiritual world. With that, I do want to say this, in nature, in the world around us. So I do want to say I do believe in these things. I do believe in these things in to a way. I don't believe in demigods. I believe the demigods or the false gods that we make gods, that are these superstars and people that we bring and elevate to a level that they should and worship that they should never have. I don't believe in necessarily there's gods, half gods walking among us. But I do believe that there were giants. Do believe in spirits. But I believe most spirits are at rest unless they're conjured up another way. All right. So I do want to say, let me say that. I believe, according to my Bible, it says that we sleep after death, that there's sleep, and you can go back and reference that. But I believe the things that we do see are tricks, illusions, and conjurings. Okay. So I do believe in it. I do believe in it. And the Bible talks a lot about that. So it doesn't shy away from that for me. But just in our world, our day to day, our history, what we know, our ancestral history, we know that there's another element to this spiritual thing that we see. Okay. Um, and what does that mean to us? What does that really mean? I know a lot of us are trying to connect. A lot of us are trying to get there. A lot of us have just gave it one bandwidth, and I just called it like we just kind of want to sum it up and leave it at that, and go with that, right? Like that's our spiritual journey. We just capsulated. But I just really pray here that we just continue to want to expand, right? We have to continue to search. We can't just sit down. Everything deserves to be touched and looked at, keeping them doors open that we can move and grow the way we need to. But I am going to read something from scripture, just to identify of even the Bible's context of acknowledging these things. Um, well, I wish I had the verse here, but either way, it says, "But there was a certain man called Simon, which before time in the same city used sorcery, and he bewitched the people of Samaria, giving out that himself was some great one, to whom they all gave heed, from the least to the greatest, meaning from people at the bottom to the people who had things, saying, This man is the great power of God. And to him they had regard, because that of a long time he had bewitched them with sorceries." So we can see it clearly identified, even in scripture. Not even for non-believers, just people who don't believe in the Bible. Even for people that don't believe that aspect of it, here it is. It acknowledges those things clear as day. In Exodus 8:7, and the magicians did so with their enchantments and brought up frogs upon the land. And the magicians, it says, hold on. Then 8:19, the Exodus. Then the magician said unto Pharaoh, This is the finger of God. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them as the Lord had said. He was upset at the magicians because they couldn't do what he did, but it still speaks to these magicians. Even when Moses brought the staff, and threw it down and it became a snake, then magicians were actually able to do the exact same thing. And if anybody remembers the story, but then the snake, the staff that Moses had, ate up the other snakes. As God was proving his point, that he had power over all these things, that there was none above his, no matter what man could tap into, right? Um, and that's just that aspect. I just wanted to lay that out there because I think sometimes we get it confused, um, and even a lot of Christians do, that there isn't that part of it, and even then, even if they've read it, don't acknowledge what that really means in our day-to-day life. And a lot of times I think it's easier for us to, for some reason, lean towards the darker side of it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just like even me, like I love scary movies and horror movies, sci-fi movies, and I think in the end, that's just our natural instincts from what we see and also what we've been given, right? Um, but there's so much there, because these myths and things that we see and creatures that were created, even on movies, a lot of times will have roots in myths, or mythology, or and every myth they say has a core truth, right? There's some type of truth to it. So these beings and these things from our ancient times has existed, and some people want to call them aliens. I like to say a lot of the work of a lot of the fallen angels, but I believe there's just another aspect to this spiritual world. But then even the practices that we have garnished along the way and learned, and I do believe things are here for the right reasons. I do believe in healing or herbs and different things that I believe were put here for us, and I do believe in forms of it, but I don't believe it's something to take lightly if you're tampering with it. Um, you know, but it's here. It's here. But we often only acknowledge it. To me, we don't often only acknowledge it as in like in movies and in small forms. You know, maybe like not like in places like Louisiana and other places like that. Maybe it has a little bit more deeper root, but what's regarded and respected a little bit more. But you know, it's a real thing, and we go about this life oftentimes not acknowledging it to its extent. And so, with that, I have the first question that I wanted to ask is, oh, and with that, please, like I say all the time, we're here to rub shoulders. And if you are into this or into that, I'm not, hey, look, we're here together. If you just have a comment or a thought or something you learned or something you know or something you want to reference, that's how we grow, right? I'm here so that we put, like, I am here right now in the furnace with you, but as I'm here to present and facilitate, it's really just to bring forth um, the opportunity for us all to put our hands on things, not to shut our doors on these things, realize the reality of these things, that we make conscious decisions on the directions and moves that we make. So as we look at this, the first question I have, the first question I have, if we can believe in these things or lean towards these things just in some way, why is it that we can't see the spiritual battle? Why is it that we can't see the spiritual battle that we face or even consider it? We go about this daily walk battling each other, battling our brothers and sisters, battling our loved ones, battling the system and society, battling all these physical elements. So I get why we acknowledge the physical over the spiritual. But from what we know, Why aren't we looking into what does the spiritual really play into it? We can agree with negative energy, and we now the energy's the thing. You know what I mean? I can match your energy. I can da 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 energy. I don't want no bad. Get that negative energy away from me. It's just like, you know what I mean. It's funny because we can go to that realm of saying that, and not really even understanding that. You know what I mean? Like, for one, ask yourself this: why if why is there more negative energy than positive energy? If that's the case, why are people drawn and prone to more negative energy than positive energy? And why is there so much darkness in the world? Why is there so much, you know what I mean? Like, where is the good at? Like, and we can all attest to this. So it's like there has to be a moving force of negative energy. I mean, it's a real thing. And I believe a lot of it, for one, is us falling away from a lot of core things. Um, for me, it's the Bible, but, morals, uh, just the way to be as human beings, who we are, what we were meant to be, our connection to all that's around us, all that was established, all that was set before us, all that we were given dominion over, that was to share with each other. And we just lost all of that and have given in to our greeds, our lust, and now we live in a world that's also promoting those things within us, even from the moment we walk here. So these upper elite is what I really wanted to speak of. Is they have done a number right on the world. We see it today. We see these things. They haven't really had to be accountable for anything that they've done, whether it's food, whether no matter what it's been, the wars, they really haven't had to be accountable. No matter what eggs have been cracked open and what knowledge has been given to us, no matter what truths have been given to us, um, they can deny it and just keep on rolling. And there's nothing they say. Basically, they believe that we can do about it. So that's the powers that be, just alone, and that's just from a man's perspective of thinking. That's not even the aspect of that they even believe in spiritual things. They are doing spiritual practices. Many are garnered and harvested into this thing to mislead me and you. We're talking about artists, and that's of all races and all colors. They found ways to just continue to, how can they mislead us and keep us misdirected and misguided. And as they pay attention to the spiritual side of it, as they dive into the spiritual side of it, which is usually the darker side, we don't. We just keep on living. We just get upset. We drink about it. We smoke about it. We talk about it, complain about it, go on our day about it, and just fight this physical battle. And wonder why we're just so physical torn. Wonder why we're just so out of place. We're as our bodies are this housing unit to this mind and this soul. But we just honestly, in the end, we just drag this soul along for the ride because usually our soul is the one beckoning for that connection. Our soul is the one that always leaves us feeling that emptiness. That's your soul because it was meant to be connected. It's your choice on what you believe what is to be connected to, but it's a spiritual essence to life that it beckons to be connected to. Facts. So you're always feeling empty, but we don't tend to it. So we're just worn out, we're drained, and we're beat up. And that's what I'm trying to bring into context here is because they believe in it. We've seen the symbols. You can call it Illuminati, but it's not. It's always been bigger than just a group of people. It's what these people believe in. It's what they're doing. It's the rituals. It's the orgies. It's the blood sacrifices. It's the uh, animals. It's the blood sacrifice. They're doing these things. They're conjuring up spirits to move them forward and direct them, guide them, just like you would see in any movie from anybody, whether they're trying to do it for a good reason or bad. It doesn't matter. They're using those practices to move forward in the world in their own desires. Because as long as they can please their flesh, as long as they can please their sickness, as long as they can please their pervertedness, as long as they can have dominance, you know what I mean? Like that's what they're granted, right? It's like signing that devil's contract. And as long as they can have those things, you know, they're right along with it. And they're being brought into it, right? And then they've been raised in it. You know, a lot of these people, this stuff goes back, way back. I mean, it's been going on, but they have now solidified it within a group that has direction over the world. And they're spiritually doing these practices and things. And you got people that, I mean, like eating baby fetuses. I mean, they're bathing in blood. That's old. There was a queen that did that back in the days that's known for bathing in blood, human blood. And they're still doing these things today. And a lot of these artists will talk about a lot of things. A lot of people who do finally break free will talk about a lot of things. But they usually keep it very, very secluded, and some only see the very, very secluded side of it. But even then, they can say that it's a demonic thing. It's a dark thing, dark practices. And they use every element to their disposal, right? They're using drugs and they're using these different things to continue to uh, move within their flesh, but they have given in to that darkness. All have been through some type of ceremony. You know, there's a man named Alex Jones. I used to like follow him. He was a little bit sometimes irate and crazy, but you know, a lot of the things that he was talking about and investigating were clear, true, and justified. Um, you know, from a lot of subjects brought up, and um, for those that cracked the code, and you know, that we know the hackers that gave us the information, and then those guys were enemy of the state all of a sudden. But they're feeding us the people, and all of a sudden we're enemy of the state. So he would do things like that. But one thing that he did that was really big was he broke into this place called the Bohemian Grove. And the Bohemian Grove, there's a group uh, there. It's a social group. Um, and the Bohemian Grove is a place that was a private property of redwood forest that was kept, I think, uh, and you know, for itself. It's not open to the public, right? And this group, the Bohemian Group, was founded in like 1972. You know, it got deeper in 1978, but really it started to grow. You know, it became something more, and I believe these people were already moving towards more. And with that, though, he breaks into, like I said, it's private, but once a year they get together. Once a year, elite people, senators, presidents, you know, you name it, right? Like these are big actors. This is a lot of people that have high positions that are governing and ruling our world, and a part of the process of it. Go here, and they put on robes, light candles, and walk around and do these rituals, say these things, um, all these different things. I'm sure sacrificing. But he breaks in and catches a good amount of recording. You know, people don't want to talk about it. People got angry. You know, people that were in it got angry for him for doing it. Do you know what I mean? It was just a real touchy situation for a while. And he had a mark on his back really from that day forward. From that real day forward, he had a mark on his back. But what would cause them to be saying this folklore? Matter of fact, I think even in the video um, that I was watching, you know, they even mentioned something like, "Come here, you forest people, folk forest people," and it's like, there, here it is. It's like some old Celtic stuff, right? But they're trying to tap into that same thing. They even called out to past people that were there that were no longer with them to be there to join in the ritual. And you can go look it up for yourself. It's still on the internet. It's still on the internet. You know, the Bohemian Grove, Alex Jones, and they're saying this stuff. So I'm saying if it gets that deep, and the point that I'm trying to make, and they're using symbols. And they're putting these symbols in our movies and everything, right? They're marking your brain with these symbols, marking rocks, right? No different than marking other things. No, but it's like creating gateways and creating openings. You're under attack every day. You don't realize it, and but you will go out there and fight your brother, you know. And this is where we're losing that battle, and we need to recognize this. And in recognizing it, my next question is, why is it significant to understand the spiritual side of life? I mean, to me, if you're mind, body, and soul, then the soul, your spirit, that's why it's significant. Because if this is a spiritual warfare, if it's spiritual battle, then you need to arm your spirit, right? I'm not worried about how big and how strong you are and how much weight you pumping at the gym. You know, I'm not worried about how much knowledge you got and can spew out and in 1852 and 1330 and da 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 da. I'm not worried about all of that. I'll take knowledge. Don't get me wrong. I love history, but on the real front, that doesn't matter more than me tending to my soul and spiritually having the wisdom to tend to it and understanding um, the sacredcy of it. And so as we venture forward and we see this darker side, and hopefully you pay attention more, and hopefully you're able to start diagnosing because we've seen it, but it's like we just, they keep hitting you with that flood, so you just, you go about your day to day, you forget. It's just like killing, it's like getting numb to stuff. Like here, all the stuff normal, they put it in movies and videos and video games. So this stuff is just all around us all the time in a way or shape or form to the point where it's like we don't even care about it like that. But we're here in this furnace to care about it, right? We're here in this furnace to elevate, to grow, and to move forward, mind, body, and soul, right? We're here to connect. And so with that, we have to arm up. So understanding that there's a dark energy that's opposed to the light energy, and that we are supposed to be light energies because though we choose to be dark, but we weren't established to be a dark energy. Um, if not, we wouldn't have been created so highly intelligent. Um, as human beings are, you're a marvelous creation. Our species is just a marvel all on its own. So to be that what we are, and we're not lions, we're not these brute things, we're not, we don't have all these other things that you would think would give us the edge, but we've been given the mind to have the edge, the compassion, and all these little things, and the ability to create, and that's not even going into just how our body functions. And then we talk about the soul and the consciousness, the things that scientists still to this day don't even know, would never know how it connects or why it is, because it's held there and put there by something bigger than ourselves. But we are spiritual beings. And so recognizing that, that's the key, is recognize that we're not just physical beings, that we are mind, body, and soul, and that we can't put soul at the end. It should be soul, mind, and body, because I believe if we tend to our soul, that would bring forth us tending more to our mind, the proper way, right? I'm not the proper way, and that would want us, and in that we would respect our body more. And with that, it changes how we respond to the world, how we respond to our challenges, how we respond to each other, how we feel, our empathy level. You know what I mean? Things that we're out of touch with. Remember that heart of stone. We're just hardened as people throughout this life, throughout our challenges. It would start to remanufacture those things, to begin to reform those things until we're transformed and move forward to the things that we should be and who we should be and how we should look. Because we're all victims of this world, and we're all victims of circumstance, and we have all lost our way, especially when it comes to recognizing what we are and who we are. No different than when you look at when the slaves were brought over, they had to be ripped of their culture, dignity, their significance, their, in essence, their power, of all that they were, to get them believe that there was something lesser than an animal, to be able to be controlled. And I bring that up because it's no different than the work that's still being done today for us to be brought to a place to not recognize our significance. And because we don't, we have depression at an all-time high, anxiety. We're just, like I said, we're just trying to fill voids with consumerism, food, reason why we're sick. And you know what I mean? We're just so far away from even respecting anything that's the marvel that we are. And first, that comes with your soul, your spirit, and your connection to the world around you. So, that will go into how we treat ourselves. Um, and what changes when we recognize it. We said that already. We think different, move different, we treat our bodies different. Um, and that that is just one of the elements. But if you realize you're in battle every day, then you know that you got to garnish, right? When somebody's preparing for battle. And so if I just think that I'm gonna go out and I'm going on a street fight, you know what I mean? All I need to do is lace my shoes up and go out there. If I'm going into this type of fight, then I know I'm gonna need a little bit more if I'm going into, you know what I mean? So recognizing right now we're going out there naked and being demolished. And this is how I look at it. You can win, so let's say you had 10 fights. You can win all 10 of those fights, but you still lost 10 times. I'm going to let that sit for a second. You can fight 10 fights and still lose 10 times. Because you won the physical side, but you lost to the spiritual side. The point of you being where you are and the higher calling and your consciousness and just being elevated, that you have now resulted yourself to being a primitive being. I'm not saying there isn't causes for us at points in time, especially in a world where everybody's not going to get it and everybody ain't going to get with it, that there is going to be a time to defend yourself or having to defend yourself, but having an elevated mind, knowing how to dictate and move around it until you don't have a choice, unless there isn't a choice, but to defend yourself. But other than that, learning how to continuously, like I said, avoid simple snares and traps because you're not trying to just win the battle. Your objective is to win the war. You can lose it all for pride in the battle, or you can move forward and establish more and more allies and more, you know what I mean? Just so many different things as you move forward with a better mind and with a purpose and a righteous cause. Um, so, and with less conflict, I think we could create more opportunity for everybody. Um, you know, and we can realize and see the attack on a spiritual connection. That is a big key. Realizing and seeing the spiritual attack. Looking at this world, why are they so invested in being spiritual? Why are they so invested in witchcraft? Why are they so invested in, all these things? And, I guess they were talking about Elon Musk having a little, whatever that thing was. I probably need to do more research, but he had some, I've seen it before. I can't think of the name of it. But, we can get into why are these people so fascinated with these things? Why was Hitler trying to collect, and find all of, Jesus's and ancient times, biblical times artifacts to harvest their energy? He wanted the spear that supposedly stabbed Jesus because he wanted to see if he can harness anything off of the blood that was on it. These people really think like that Hitler wasn't the only one. Hitler was just, like I said, some people just irate. Just like we can agree about Trump. Trump, man, I can't see him being a master magician, but I guess somebody got to be working for him. Uh, but with that, he's irate and foolish. But there's people who think just like him who are intelligent. Okay, that's what I'm really trying to get to. So we can't be bamboozled that this is not a real thing. It is a real thing. So thing is, arm yourself spiritually. Start figuring out what you can do and your standards, your non-negotiables, your regimens, and your practices to start working on your spiritual side of your walk. That is big in this walk towards elevation, and that's why I'm sitting here bringing this forward. I don't want to keep too long, so I'm gonna try to sum it up. We know we have attacks on our schools and our school systems. They're not teaching anything about your soul, your spiritual side, but yet they can recognize it. We all recognize it. The world recognizes there's something spiritual, but yet there's nothing that we tend to. I mean, along with other things, right? I mean, obviously, they don't really teach about financials, don't teach how to budget and all these other things and how to invest at an early age like they could. Social skills and different other real things they don't. We know that. But even for one of the most biggest things, like I said, for this walk, is they don't teach it. So you don't have social skills. They keep us as consumers and buyers and that mindset that keeps us blind and lost and keep us bombarded with social media. But you don't see anything in any of these things that really tend to your spirit, that really tend to your soul, that are invested on in it. So they don't. It's obvious they didn't. We know they don't care about our mind. We know they could care less about our body unless they can make money off it. Everything that they could capitalize off it and get you thinking it's a trend and all of that other stuff, just like working out and organics and foods and all these other. They can make money off it, they will profit off it, but don't think that they really care. Because if they cared, you wouldn't. It would be a normal thing. And that's not even getting to how they treat the world and all the plastic that's been filling up in the oceans and in Africa, all these other places that are full of trash and are trash and plastics. They don't care about the earth. They don't care about the spirit, the energies. They don't care about the spiritual side of things. But they are using spiritual matters for their push, or at least they believe it's all theirs. But if they're being guided by some other force and some other energy, then we obviously know it has to be a negative one. And, honestly, if I was a dark side entity and I was trying to conquer over a world or planet, and I could use people who are simply misled and greedy and moved off their own desires, I would create and establish probably the same thing. I'm just putting it out there, right? It's like a way of takeover, right? It makes sense. And your hands are clean. The devil's not. We can hear about the devil. We can hear about this thing, but there's a saying that says the greatest lie the devil ever told was convincing the world that he don't exist. And really, we're at that place. We don't really acknowledge. We do acknowledge dark energies, but we don't acknowledge really dark forces like the devil or like some other dark behind the veil entities. And that veil is getting weaker. That veil is getting weaker. There's witches that have came out and talked about, um, them doing witchcraft and doing witchcraft around certain times and this and that and around Halloween because the veil was thinner around these times and all these different things. Man, just go do your research. And these are some are good, some are bad. A lot. I don't know why human beings we like the dark side. Just to be truthful, so there isn't a lot of good ones. If there is any good, the good ones that we have or whatever, however you want to look at it. Most people are on into that dark side. It's about trying to get and conquer their life. They're trying to manifest. So like, matter of fact, let me read this real quick. I believe I should still have it. I believe I still should have it up. Hopefully I do. Uh, and of course, I don't. But that's cool. Um, but it was just talking about witchcraft and different things, and it was talking about that a lot of these practices and rituals and things were to change outcomes, right? And we know that, right? Just from ancient time, sacrifice and doing all these things to call upon these other beings and other beings to change an outcome, whether it's water, whether it was famine, whether it was food, whether it was changing a bad situation, helping out in war, helping what I mean to lead, and all these other things. Like for me, when I go to God, I'm going for direction, for this and that. So I mean, there's a has to be a good side as well, but I mean, there's also a very, very, very dark side as well. And that dark side is more prevalent because of human nature and being out of touch And the fact that it has been able to run rampant, we have all been also tainted to these points too, where it's just easy for us. I mean, how many of us have patience? I mean, why is patience so difficult to have? You know, it's because of all we haven't been taught it. We haven't been given it. We don't live in a world with it. I mean, regardless, there's always going to be somebody more patient than another. You know, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the reality of it. Why are we so quick to anger? Why are we so quick to fight? Because we're raised in a world with it. That's all we've seen. That's all that we know. So even then, we're unleashed. We ourselves unleash dark energies because we walk in a world full of dark energies. So even when we're trying to do right, you have to also recognize that you still, you know, it's like you got to come in and spiritually bathe because and spiritually reconnect. Um, that's the fight that I'm also talking about as well. Because if you don't spiritually bathe, you still carrying around all these dark energies that you go into the world and around because that's what mostly is, and that's what they wanted. That's what they get on their knees and sacrifice to, you know. That and trying to be forever young, you know. But you know, we don't have anything that promotes these things on our TVs, promoting about your mind, your body, and soul, and how to tend to it. We don't have outlets or channels that are dedicated to your mind, body. You know, we don't have commercials that pop on that let you know how important your soul is and how to take care of it. So, you know what I mean? So they want to keep you down and they want to keep us lost and unconnected. And I said we got to keep them doors open, keep learning, keep growing, but definitely make the effort each and every day to tend to our spiritual minds and our bodies so that we can armor up spiritually, that we can grab our spiritual sword, put on our spiritual armor, put on our spiritual crowns, you know, and walk with that spiritual protection. Can you shut that door, please? Shut that door, please. So yeah, you know, sorry about that. You know, I got my kids. They do what they do. But you know, my blessings. But truly, um, protecting our souls, protecting our spirits. Um, because you can only be mentally strong for so long. You can only be mentally tough for so long before you start wearing out and wearing down and feeling the effects of this life. And you can make it look good and you can do this and that, but we've seen the strongest fall and fade, and we've seen the strongest collapse under pressure because there's only so much that we can do. And when we don't realize that there's this other side to it, we're going to continue to lose this battle. We're going to continue to lose to our lust and our desires and all the corruption and um, and be less of what we were meant to be. So my elevators and my furnace warriors continue your walk, be strong, recognize the spiritual battle, growing in your practices and what you do. Um, if you're a Bible believer, read your word, pray, meditate on God's truth, strengthen that walk, ask for that direction. For all others, you know, whatever are the things that you do that will give you better connection with the world. Like I said, this walk and what we believe should add some form of transformation, some form of change, and empowerment and strength in our lives. So, with that, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. You know, love and peace only. But here we go again. We got to get out the fire, but we never really leave, do we?